Okay. Obviously, there are many more combinations of those three values that you could set: basis, shrink, and grow, and you can achieve many different effects. Now, we cannot look at all of those combinations. Um, so what we are going to do now is we are going to move on to a couple of examples that are more practical and that are kind of patterns how you can use those three values in combination, and you will get a little bit more of a feeling how you can work with them, and that has to be enough for this chapter. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this, there are a lot of resources on the internet on the general Flexbox system for web, and a lot of those, most of those are also useful for UI Toolkit. Although UI Toolkit technically is more of a subset of the real Flexbox system, so it's actually almost simpler than the one that you have in the web world. But still, a lot of those patterns and a lot of those tutorials of this information that you might find will also be useful for UI Toolkit. At the end, let's just summarize what we should take away from those last lessons. Basis, shrink, and grow always go together. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to look at them in total isolation because they are meant to work together. Now, we said that we saw how shrink starts to kick in at a certain threshold depending on how you set your basis, and the same thing goes for grow. So that alone shows you that those properties are always connected. Now, the flex basis is the most mysterious of those properties, the one that probably is least intuitive in the beginning. And we tried two definitions for flex basis, which are both sort of true, but sort of not true enough, or they're not telling the whole story. The first definition was to say the flex basis is the size that elements want to have on the main axis. The size that elements want to have, that they ideally have on the main axis, if they have enough space. And if they don't have enough space, that's kind of when the second thing kicks in, which is that flex basis kind of sets the basis for how to distribute available space. And to distribute this space, we look at grow or we look at shrink when we kind of already didn't have enough space. And that's basically it. Now, with those three things, you should be good to go. You should be fine in 9 of 10 cases. There will be cases, however, now and then where you will be confused what is actually happening, and then you have to really look at the container, look at all of those things, think, make a break of 2 hours, think a little bit, and you will probably figure out what is going on. Most of the times it does make some sense, but maybe you missed one of the properties. However, those three properties also are kind of powerful, as you saw here, and as you will see in those next practical examples. So let's just, for now, leave this kind of more abstract consideration, and let's go to a couple of practical examples where you see how you might use those values in a real layout.